All right. Hello, everyone online. Everyone's still moving into the room.
Yeah.
In typical fashion of wellness, we're going to start a minute early so that we can hit the road running. Okay. I hope everyone can hear us well online as well. So, can you guys hear me overhead? Okay. So we're going to get started. Please grab your food, take your time. I want to welcome everyone online, everyone in the room. This will be officially our 5th Wellbeing lecture. We took a couple of months off in the summer because of travel. I love seeing this huge crowd. Apologies for being in just one classroom. We had to change the date of this meeting because of prior conflicts in schedules. So the other room was taken up by our PNT colleagues. So we want to start today's lecture with a quick breathing exercise. I know some of you guys are in line, but I'm going to hand the mic off to my colleague, Chris Wood, who's going to do a breathing exercise, and please follow online as well.
All right, so everyone finish chewing first. So we're going to do 2 different breathing exercises, and breathing is one of the best things that you can do in the moment to stop that stress response. We have that like fight or flight. We either do one of 2 things, we either hold our breath or we start breathing really rapid and shallow. So the 2 breathing exercises we're going to do are going to combat whichever one of those persons you are. But again, the idea is that you're stopping that fight or flight, that stress response. So then you can, okay, take a breath, think clearly about what's happening, and analyze what's the appropriate next step for whatever the situation is, whether it's personal or professional or any situation. So the first one we're going to do is called box breathing, or 4x4. And so you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold for 4 counts, you breathe out for 4 counts, you hold for 4 counts. This is really good if you're someone that holds your breath when you get really tense or stressed. So, all right, we're going to take just a normal breath in and out first, and I'm going to walk you through it. We're going to breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. One more time, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, relax. Yeah, right? Everybody's like, oh, already. So the other one is 4-7-8 breathing. And now it's really good if you're somebody that starts to breathe really rapid and shallow, that hyperventilative breath, because your in breath is shorter and your out breath is about twice as long as your in breath. So you're just blowing off that extra CO2. All right, so take a breath in and out, and we'll do the other way. We're going to breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Relax. So that feels too long, you can always shorten it a little bit. You just want your out breath to be twice as long as your in breath. Remember, this is something that you can use anytime you need, in the moment, immediately, no matter where you are or what the situation is. You stop that fight or flight, you're able to process and think more clearly.
Thank you, Chris. That was excellent. Just always remember, breathing typically fixes a lot of problems. So I'm going to quickly go through a couple of our objectives. If we have anyone new in the room or as a repeat, it's always good to go through. Our objectives here are just education on what well-being is, how it impacts you, implementation of an action plan, how you can implement it in your life. Self-meta awareness is a very key part of wellness and well-being. And we call this the Jedi Knight Academy, which is all of you are in. And then sustainability and maintaining inner peace is the key. Hopefully, when you hear this enough and you follow enough of this, you get that inner peace. And then that's when you think you're close to becoming a master Jedi, becoming a Yoda, and then you start imparting on others. And we're hoping that the three of us are somewhere between 4 and 5, but it's a constant learning process. Just a little disclaimer, yes, we are healthcare providers. Yes, we do work at a hospital. However, personalized risk and personalized advice, you should always go to a provider you know well. You guys are all in healthcare by and large. Just take our word for it, but also trust but verify. So I'm going to hand off to my colleague, Dr. Kulkarni.
Thank you both. All right. Sound check. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, cool. So like Dr. Sardian mentioned, this is going to be kind of a summary lecture. We've been giving these lectures since March of this year, talking about the pursuit of wellness and well-being. So this lecture is going to be kind of like bringing it all together. And then hopefully have time at the end of this lecture to bring some audience input and kind of talk about what our next steps should be as a group. So this is what we've been talking about for the last few months, the foundations of wellness. The original research was done, some of the original research was done by Dr. Frederick, starting in the mid-90s. And she basically said that when you're researching wellness, really, we're thinking about well-being, but well-being should be broken up into individual foundations. So she identified these 8 individual foundations, and we've been talking about each one of them over the last few months. And one of her, the cruxes of her initial work was that all of these foundations basically are interconnected. So she developed a circle and basically listed all these individual foundations in this circle. And the main point of that is that when any one of these foundations is affected, then all of these foundations are affected. And you can imagine that. So if something is affecting you physically, you can imagine that it would basically cause ripples everywhere else. So I'm going to be talking about a couple of foundations, specifically physical and emotional. So physical wellness, specifically, we're going to talk about 3 particular aspects of physical wellness, which is cardiovascular fitness, strength training, and sleep hygiene. Again, we are kind of going through this in summary because we covered each one of these in great detail at previous lectures. So cardiovascular fitness. As Dr. Sardian mentioned, we are all healthcare providers. I don't think I need to tell anybody here about the benefits of cardiovascular fitness, but it has been well documented going back to the 1970s with the Framingham heart studies that cardiovascular fitness dramatically improves heart health, stamina, energy levels. You get a reduction of MI, stroke, cardiovascular events, but you also get benefits in mental health issues or conditions like stress and anxiety. The depression risk also lowered. Why? Because of a variety of things that are happening in your brain that is caused by exercise, like improvement of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, increasing your endorphins, increasing your serotonin. There are some studies that actually show that you get the greatest amount of benefits with moderate to vigorous exercise, but in all honesty, even just a walking program will get you off on the right start. You also get an improved immune status or immune function when you're exercising regularly. You get higher levels of white cells, your inflammatory markers drop, and you actually get enhanced antibody response to vaccines. And this has actually been studied that people who exercise regularly report fewer sick days and fewer injuries over time. So like I said, examples, you can certainly, for cardiovascular fitness, you can consider something more strenuous like jogging or swimming, but even just walking 7 to 10,000 steps a day is beneficial for you. Sleep. at least 7 hours of sleep. Try for 7 hours of sleep. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't get that. It's not just the quantity, but the quality as well. Dr. Sardiarian had an excellent section in this particular area that we were talking about the benefits of sleep and how necessary it is for us to get into each of those different levels of sleep, the deep sleep and the REM sleep, which is absolutely critical for you. Why is it important? Again, immune function, hormone regulation, insulin sensitivity, cardiovascular benefits, opportunity for the body to repair itself, to repair muscles and any injury that occurred. The bottom line, and tons of literature has shown this, that with sleep, you get healthy aging, cognitive decline is definitely lowered, and the disease risk overall is definitely reduced.
There's a question. How many people have monitors here that they use to see how they sleep? Either an eye watch. Okay.
Strength training. So why is strength training important? For metabolic issues, again, getting back to the insulin sensitivity, when you have increased insulin sensitivity, exercise actually increases insulin activity because when you have muscles, the muscles have glucose transport proteins that literally move up to the surface of the muscle when you have when you're actually exercising. So these transport proteins all move to the surface and they're actually basically absorbing sugar, taking sugar in. So the more you exercise, the more strength training you do, the more muscles you have, the more muscles, the greater that reservoir. And when your glucose levels drop, then your insulin levels drop. And I covered this at a previous lecture as well. And when your insulin levels drop, that's when you're into fat burning. When your glucose levels are high, insulin levels are high. When insulin levels are high, you are making fat, you are storing fat. So that's why it's important. The more strength, the more muscles you have, you actually turn everything else, you turn things around. Another benefit, increasing bone density through mechanical loading and remodeling and increasing strength, improved posture, reduced fatigue, and improved stability. So you can kind of see why strength training is increasingly, or has been really recommended quite a bit for elderly populations who are at high risk for falls, high risk for skeletal fractures, and that sort of thing. And then this was a really cool study that was done out of Australia a few years ago or last year. They found that musculoskeletal mass was actually these patients. I think it was 80,000 patients. The more muscle mass they had, the better the response that they had to cancer treatments. The tolerance was better. The mortality was reduced, and the side effects and complications from treatments was also significantly improved. Moving on to emotional health. So, emotional health meaning emotional wellness. So, what is emotional wellness? It is the ability to manage emotions, cope with stress, and build satisfying relationships, to have a sense of meaning and purpose. It is strongly linked to all of the other wellness foundations. And when you're talking about optimizing emotional wellness, you are talking about optimizing your brain and mind health. So when you're talking about your emotions, you have to think about your brain and also your mind. So the brain is really just your physical organ, made up of neurons, of blood vessels. It's processing information, regulating body functions, producing neurotransmitters. But the mind is basically the subjective experience, right? The consciousness, it's our thoughts, it's our emotions, it's how we're interpreting it all, right? That's influencing your thoughts and your behaviors, and that in turn influences your emotional well-being. So it's really your mind that you have to think of when you're thinking about emotional wellness, because that's, interpreting your well-being, and your mind can either, depending on your thoughts, it can either help you or it can hurt you. So it's not like that old expression, you are what you eat. Well, it's also you are how you think. I talked a lot about chronic stress at a previous lecture. Being in healthcare, of course, we're no strangers to stress. But the biggest things that you have to be aware of in terms of emotional wellness is impaired emotional regulation and the increased risk of depression, anxiety, and cognitive disorders as a result of exposure to chronic stress. Why? Number one, the HPA axis. Basically, you're getting sustained cortisol levels from the HPA axis. I showed this graph. This is basically your diurnal cortisol production. I'm sorry, I don't have the other curve on there. But for people who are chronically stressed, instead of going down, their cortisol levels kind of level off like that. Okay, so when you're chronically stressed, those cortisol levels are constantly high. And when they're high, all sorts of bad things start to happen. Number one, your serotonin and the dopamine levels, which are your feel-good neurotransmitters, basically start to get disrupted. That affects how you feel. Your neuroinflammation is increased. The neurogenesis or new neuron formation in the hippocampus, which is your learning and memory center, gets reduced, and the cortisol itself actually shrinks that hippocampus. Going back to how you're processing information, it's the hippocampus that helps you decide if something is a threat or not. So if stress is constantly destroying that area, number one, your memories are at risk, and your reasoning abilities are also at risk. So therefore, you can't really decide if something is truly stressful or not. So therefore, the tiniest stressors can activate that HPA axis, and you're stuck in that cycle constantly over and over again. So you're constantly stressed out. And I'm sure we all know people like that. That just the tiniest thing just stresses them out, right? Because they are stuck in that cycle. And then lastly, the amygdala hyperactivity and prefrontal cortex suppression, again, reduces neuroplasticity. We talked a lot about that as well. So very detrimental to neuroplasticity, and that's what you want as you're moving forward. So some examples of emotional wellness and how you take care of yourself, right? Yoga, meditation, mindfulness, right? Here are some examples. A cancer patient practicing optimism, gratitude, and positive affirmations, they experience fewer symptoms of depression and pain tolerance. How? Their cognitive reframing activates their reward centers in their prefrontal cortex, which is what you want to develop, and you're releasing dopamine, releasing serotonin, and lowering cortisol. Number two, a nurse attends weekly yoga classes. She reports improved sleep, reduced anxiety, and improved resilience. Why? Because yoga is activating your parasympathetic system, which is down-regulating your HPA axis. So your overall levels of cortisol are dropping. And you're also increasing your GABA neurotransmitters, which also reduce anxiety. Final example, a physician practicing mindful meditation for 10 minutes a day. She experiences improved emotional regulation and less reactivity to stress. Why? Because that gray matter density in the hippocampus, which is that regulation center, and the prefrontal cortex has increased activity. And the amygdala, which is the primitive section of the brain, the fight or flight section of the brain that kind of tells you to do all that, that's decreased. So therefore, the anxiety and stress response is lowered. Okay. All right, so that's summarizes my section. I'm going to hand over to
Last. So we talked about physical, emotional. We're going to talk about spiritual. Sometimes that seems a little bit abstract. So I want to bring it into the context of what we know in the medical system. We know the mind, right? As someone begins to pass, maybe they drift off into sleep. We know the body. We know what that looks like on the monitor. But the spirit, we know what that's like too. It's that energy in the room that changes a few minutes after someone passes, right? There's an energy that we have. Has anybody seen the video online where the sperm meets the egg and there's a flash of light? That's the spirit too, right? It is that energy that is inside of us. We can't explain it, but we can feel it. That's what we're talking about here. So another way to think about it, the mind, the body, and the spirit, they are all one. Just like an egg, we have the egg shell, we have the egg yolk, we have the white of the egg. We don't think of it as three separate parts, right? It's just the egg. Same thing. Your mind, your body, and your spirit, it's all you. Not three separate parts of you, all you working in conjunction with each other. If the egg didn't have a shell, it wouldn't be anything, right? The yolk would fall out, the whites would fall out. If it didn't have the yolk, you wouldn't really have an egg either. You certainly wouldn't get a chick, right? Or the white. So it's all one unit together. That's how I want you to think about this as we move through. So what is poor spiritual health? How does that manifest? What does it look like within you? Some examples: anxiety and depression, physical and emotional burnout. You are at the top. That stress response is happening all the time. There's nothing there that's anchoring you back to your core. Paranoia, irrational thinking. If you're always stressed, that amygdala is always getting activated, you're in that very primitive fight or flight, everything is going to feel like a threat and you're going to be ready to fight back. Isolation. Sometimes it becomes overwhelming. We don't know who we can turn to. Feels like we're the only one experiencing this. Destructive behaviors. Because of all of those other things we talked about, sometimes outlets, bless you, sometimes outlets that don't serve us become a really good coping mechanism. Things like overeating, things like alcoholism and drugs, they actually give you that dopamine response. You got that feel-good hormone so that you can help to curtail some of these symptoms, destructive behaviors. Acute on chronic illness. If you are always in that same fight or flight response, if your cortisol levels are really high, you're actually creating an immune response. You get immune burnout and you can get more sick more often. It really does start to affect your mental and your physical health. Positive spiritual health. You have a good sense of purpose and meaning in your life. You are connected to something greater outside of you. Typically, that's community, and we'll talk about that a little bit further as you go into social. But it's community. It's the community of people that you work with, the community of people that you live with, other organizations or groups that you associate with. An inner peace and contentment. Improved health outcomes. So like we talked about earlier, a cancer patient that has a positive focus during treatment tends to do much better than a patient with a negative treatment during, or negative focus rather, during treatment. A reduction in reactionary and destructive behaviors. Again, if you are always on alert, your response is going to be that aggressive, kind of ready to fight response. Longevity and physical and cognitive function are also improved. You have the bandwidth to do the things to fill your spirit. You can go for a walk. You can sit down and appreciate the world around you. You can take a deep breath. Social well-being. So this directly correlates to your spirit, 100%. Nobody makes it through this world on their own. We all have a village. Everybody's village looks different. Everybody's village provides a different source of meaning and fulfillment of their spirit, but we cannot do this by ourselves. Otherwise, we're in isolation, and isolation leads to all kinds of destructive behaviors. So whatever your group looks like, always go back to them. Their impacts on well-being, personal and professional well-being, are deeply influenced by all kinds of social norms. We look at what our normal roles are. What's your role here within the confines of your job? What's your role as a family member, maybe as a spouse or a parent or a brother or a sister? Your communities, your workplaces, social media, digital interactions, we'll talk a little bit more about. Social media is great and awful. And as I was going through these slides and I was thinking about it, I thought, social media is great. I post a photo of the kids, my family in Vancouver sees it, and it's awesome. But maybe that's not awesome. Maybe I should text them directly and send them the photo. Maybe I should call them and say, hey, I'm going to send you this photo. Here's the story behind it. So we're connected and disconnected all at the same time. It is a way to find communities that you want to connect with. So there is some benefit to it, but it definitely creates this space. Again, it builds community. It raises awareness. So sometimes there may be an issue that you have that you can find out more information or other people that are experiencing that same issue. Maybe you learn a new workout program or a new recipe. There are plenty of positive things that come out of it. Professional enhancement networking, that's really great. You can find people that are like you, build another community. Passive scrolling is definitely linked to lower well-being and productivity and behavior. And a lot of it is fear of missing out or this idea that someone is doing something greater than me, right? Sometimes that can cause increased anxiety and depression and feeling more isolated, right? I remember when like Instagram was like a new thing, right? And everybody had like the most perfect life. And at that point I had like 4 little humans and I was like, I don't even know I brushed my hair today, right? So it can really make you feel like you're not living up to some kind of standard. It's not really true. Decreased self-esteem, especially in young adults, they're very susceptible to how does the rest of the world see me? Sleep disruptions, right? We know, we talked about sleep hygiene in a previous lecture. We know that if you are scrolling, it is firing all kinds of things in your brain, not just the light, but also all of those other emotions that are happening, all the other thoughts that are happening. Sometimes it's anxiety producing if you're looking at world events. 44% of US internet users faced harassment in 2020. That's a really big deal too, right? It's much easier to type something than to say it to someone's face. And sometimes people get really, really, really nasty. So another thing that just increases anxiety and depression. Set boundaries, prioritize engagement. Find your groups. There are really good groups. There are really good supportive groups. There are things that can help you grow and learn, things that help you expand your horizons. So just try to make your online experience, your social media experience, a positive one, both personally and professionally. I think with that, we'll move on to neuroscience.
All right.
Yes, I think one comment.
Yeah.
I really love that slide about the positive and negatives of social media. What my family has done is, and what experts say to counteract the negative effects is just not have it on your phone because of the scrolling. But if you have it on your computer, you can still have that connection. It's more intentional versus that distraction. And that is one thing we could try implementing into your life.
Yeah, well, one of our audience member, Danny, mentioned that at home, for those online, what they've implemented is rather than having social media on a cell phone, which is designed for the scrolling for your thumb, if you have it on a computer, it's much harder to scroll. So that's actually brilliant.
I did turn off the alerts, so I don't get alerts.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just what we decided to do since the summer was a lull and we had our lectures, we wanted to do a bit of a recap. And then my part is going to be a slight recap and then some new material. And then we're going to really have a conversation, hopefully in the last 15, 20 minutes on what we plan on doing the next couple months. And we're going to start really going down rabbit holes, which is a lot of fun, and talk about some fun concepts. So this is a bit of a recap still. We're social beings. I know some are more introverted than others, but neuroscience tells us we are. There's the interplay of evolutionary, neurological, and social factors that kind of prioritize our survival and well-being. Group cooperation is what's gotten humans to where we are. Wasn't one individual cave person that did it. And we have mirror neurons in our brain, even as adults, but we definitely have high volumes of them as children. And that's how kids learn so fast. That's why I always tell my wife, the kids could care less what we tell them. They're just going to mirror what we do and models. Neuroscience demonstrates this. They learn empathy from us. They learn conflict resolution from us. So community is very important. It's an evolutionary skill. And again, the brain evolved to support social existence. That's really how we are as humans. There is a social brain hypothesis that the human brain is very unique from all other species. Oxytocin, again, is another very rare hormone that we as humans have. It's considered the bonding hormone. It's increased during childbearing age, as motherhood. It's a reward system. Language development is very, very key with social structures. You put a child in an environment where there's other languages being learned, it'll just pick it up. And isolation is stressful. Community is social buffering. So if you have a community with positive impact, the stresses that you are experiencing tend to feel less, and the opposite might be true too. So we're social beings, but that in and of itself is not the end and be all of our brains. People have heard of the growth mindset. I don't have to lecture anyone in this room. You guys have entered into a field that's highly dependent on intellect. Intellectual well-being is very important. That doesn't mean you have to go get a PhD. Someone here constantly in school. But in order to enhance resilience, in order to feel well, to have a sense of well-being and resilience, you have to continuously be learning. Our brains are designed to have learning. You stay static, the brain atrophies. And so to always keep learning is a big, big mantra in contemplative neuroscience now. And it doesn't have to be something that your boss wants you to learn. It could be horticulture. It could be crafts. It could be anything. As long as your brain is wiring new, it's very, very important for well-being. And so again, mental stimulation, right? I tell people that I tend to be manic at baseline, but it's because I constantly want to learn new things. It's not because I'm buzzing around. Because I feel my mental well-being actually does better when I'm learning new things all the time. Creativity, critical skills. And so how we define it in the wellness world is we call it professional growth, but also personal resilience. You see someone that's continuously learning and growing, they tend to have a good aura about them. You see people that are kind of stuck in a rut, they're no longer learning, they're actually going backwards. And so I love this saying. People say, oh, we have a mental health epidemic. Well, we do in a small population. We have a mental fitness epidemic, right? People have stopped learning. People have stopped realizing that going for a fresh walk outside is healthy for your brain. People have realized that what you eat impacts your brain. How you interact impacts your brain, a small comment. So we have a mental fitness problem, which historically was not a problem before. And so be curious, learn, problem solve. I always say surround yourself with kids. I know they can be stressful sometimes, but they have a natural knack at this. They know how to do it. Be a lifelong learner, critical thinking. If you're into the arts, get back into it. If you know how to draw something you're good at. If you don't play an instrument, try and do it again. If you love walks, go outside. If you're good at photography, do those things. Don't keep saying one day. Do it now because it's going to help your profession now. And so the relevance to healthcare, I consider myself a bit of a human optimizer, right? I want people to be at their best because then they're going to be at their best at home. And so these are the tactics. You sharpen your clinical decision making. If a nurse knows how to play the violin, they haven't played in years because they're too busy, they're not doing any of us a favor, much less their own. Go back and do that. If you're artistic, if you have a talent, if you love taking walks, if you like coming in early but leaving early, all of those things I think are critical to making for good healthcare outcomes at that. And then it gives you more adaptability to high pressure environments and then lower rates of burnout. And so all of these great things come as a result of intellectually improving yourself. And that doesn't just mean adding titles, right? It means being curious about something, learning about something new. The performance improvement related to this growth mindset has been very prevalent in sports, IT, and the arts, and in hospitality, right? The Ritz-Carlton model, they're always teaching their people new things. It's actually been very, very, very non-existent in healthcare, right? We kind of think we know a lot. We went to a lot of school. We got a lot of labels after our name, so we're good. We don't need to learn anything new. And that is a horrible fallacy. And it's probably why burnout is so high in healthcare. So keep learning, bring new concepts in. It doesn't have to be healthcare related. So curiosity, learning, passion, creativity. These are the code words in wellness and growth mindset. If you ever go to any motivational speaker that's worth the dime you're paying to see them, those 4 words will come up. And you can stack them in a way that's very beneficial. So I want to talk a little bit about environment. We spend 90% of our days indoors, which is a shocking number. If you went back 100 years ago, it's 50%, right? We are not indoor creatures. I hate to break it to everyone. We're outdoor creatures. So urbanization, technology, climatization, we go from climate controlled building to a climate controlled car with warm steering wheels and all of this other nonsense, from a garage to a garage indoors. Your feet never touch the soil. You never smell the air, right? That's not how we're designed, right? And so this has negative impacts on us. So what vitamin D deficiency? I remember when I was in med school, there was some guy that came and gave us a lecture in my school, and all the doctors booed him out of the room. They're like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "Vitamin D fixes everything." Lo and behold, 20 years later, that was absolutely right. We have, I remember that thing. I mean, they were about to stone him to death. But so we've seen mental health decline. We've seen sedentary lifestyles, reduced green space. Dr. Carney gave a great talk in one of our last lectures about how architecture makes a big difference. But you have to do it. You have to take this into account. So why is it important, right? We all have high acuity jobs. We hear code blue overhead, code green. We have all of these things. Autonomy has decreased in healthcare. We've got trauma, we've got death, we've got public opinion about Frederick health isn't great, but all this stuff, right? All the challenges. And then we've got fluorescent lighting. And we've got poor temperature. Good thing we turned the temperature. I was hot, really hot in here. No green spaces. Limited outdoor views. Sunlight exposure. I'm thrilled to death I have a window in my office, right? But many people don't. Private workspaces, it's noisy, food, water, et cetera, et cetera. So we know these things. We just have to work collectively to bring it up so we can change it. So this is new material. Our last two areas of conversation were financial well-being, and I'm going to talk about a concept called work-life continuum. So, you know, I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of people in my life, building a lot of teams, and oftentimes when I see someone, they're not at their best, I try and figure out what's going on at home. Is there an organic mental health challenge here? And then what's going on with their finances, right? Is it child marriage related? Is it actual mental health related? Or is it or all of the above? And so part of financial awareness is just fostering it, being aware of what it is, right? People talk about budgeting, but just understand what ins and outs are. How much are you having come in? How much is going out? Simple formulas. There's a lot of apps I'll talk about that help. Be realistic about your saving goals, right? Don't ask someone what you should save. See what you can save. If you can't save, I'm going to talk about this. Don't beat yourself over the head, right? Everyone is different. So managing debt, there's a lot of philosophies here. Obviously, you want to reduce financial stress and improve your credit. But not all debt is bad, and you can't lose your mind over these things. You have to find a little bit of calm when you're doing this. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And so invest in yourself to understand these concepts, right? And not all advisors are great. I've met a lot of people that kind of tell me the same things over and over again. I end up not listening to them. So educate yourself. There's a lot of good stuff online. You're smart people. Figure it out, and then verify with someone else knows. AI is very useful now, but again, you have to verify all these things before you trust it. Retirement's an interesting thing. In a lot of countries outside of here, retirement's not really a concept, right? You work, you live your life, you go to soccer matches, and then your family takes care of you. In this country, it's a big, big thing. So again, retirement's nice because you have a goal in mind. You kind of have a vision in mind of what you want to look like, but I hear so many people say, I just wish I could retire. I'm not sure I'm hearing I want to retire versus I just don't want to work so hard anymore, right? So retirement should be a golden end destination that you get to where hopefully you're traveling, hopefully you have enlightenment, hopefully you have family, friends, community around you, but financially there's a way to figure this out as well. And recognize the impact of finance. I've found very, very smart people, very highly intelligent, highly educated people that have completely destroyed their mind because they've over-leveraged themselves. They make $2 million, they're spending $3 million, right? They have 4 marriages and they're building a new house with the latest spouse. You just can't win that race. Just be aware. Everyone's laughing because they probably know someone out there. So financial resilience is a really, really cool thing. It's a scary thing. Finance is a very scary thing. There's nothing worse than suddenly realizing, oh, can I pay for this? Or my child wants to go to this school, or they want to go on this trip, and you move to a new neighborhood. There's a new status in that neighborhood with finance. So just be aware that you have to build resilience. And just like Chris was talking about the social media impact, just be careful of that stuff, right? Everyone poses their financial situation, but in reality, it's probably not what it is. So I like this picture. It's kind of nice. It builds the entire cloud over trees and being in control. Just know your money situation. All right, that's all I ask. You don't have to be an accountant, you don't have to be a CPA. I personally had to go back to school and got my MBA to kind of crack my Armenian skull to understand stuff better, but just understand it. Self-compassion. People make mistakes. Make the wrong investment. You don't put enough in the 529. You loan a family member money. You buy the car at the wrong. Just have self-compassion. We're humans. We make mistakes. All right. Don't go back. Oh, if only I had done this. If only I had bought Netflix and when it was down, someone told me. Just have self-compassion with these things, and then have open communication with dependents. So if you have folks that depend on you, you have a spouse, a partner, where the finances are intermingled. Have open conversations. Don't assume. Do not assume that because other person is assuming that you're right, and then you suddenly realize, wait a minute, how much did you spend? What? You thought I was spending away? What? And so just have open communications. This is a key thing. You have to be organized with finances. There's no other way. You can't be organized. Find a rhythm, find a system that works for you. I learned this late, but learn the concept of time value of money. I try and teach my kids that. You start in your 20s, you can make more mistakes. Start in your 40s, start in your 70s, and very few mistakes you can make at that point. So time value of money really changes as you go. And then I always go back to my grandfather, who had no formal education. I don't even think he went to elementary school. Grew up in a village, and he used to always say things about delayed gratification. Right? If you're going to buy a car, think about it. It's the right time to buy it. But then every so often he would say, but there's always a sweet time to do something. He'd always say, the child wants the bike. Leo knows what I'm talking about, my brother. He would say, get the bike when it matters now. Don't wait until they're older and you have the money, because they're not going to want that. And it's similar, we've kind of done it too much in our society where people just want to buy everything. But it's a fine balance. Have delayed gratification. But then I see people that are constantly shelling up for some epic retirement, and I'm like, well, we're in healthcare, and sometimes you don't make it all the way to that point. So it's a fine line. The late gratification with balance. I always harken back to my grandfather. There's stuff out there where you can track it, right? There's report cards. It'll tell you for sure now. If you suddenly take a couple credit card loans out, and your credit score goes down, that's why. It was like my wife. We took out a credit card. Something my bank next to me, and my credit score went down. There's a lot of great apps now through your banks. Just play around with them. They'll actually track how much you're spending, what you're spending on. And again, find your own rhythm. Suddenly you realize, oh my God, I'm spending fourth of my income on groceries. Or suddenly I bought this car, but the gas is so high. So there's interesting ways to do this. This concept I love. I absolutely abhor when people say work-life balance. There's no such thing. There's just continuum, right? There's all of these intermingled competitive forces in our lives, relationships, personal, professional, dependence, financial, and all the pillars we've talked about is that continuum. You're going to do bad sometimes, and then you're going to do good other times. There's going to be those days where you're on cloud nine, you're doing great. You just got your bonus, you got a new job, you're making a little bit more money. Then you got people get sick, you change jobs, you start a business, and work out. It's this, right? But it is finite. I'm a very life is finite type of person. So the continuum is fun, whether it's down or up for me, because I realize it's a very short time window we have. And so I like this image, right? You got life on one side, work on the other side. And you got all this other stuff kind of buzzing around in different formats. Okay? Balance is the goal, but it's a rare event that we have to get that balance. Continuum is the reality. So if you're having a crappy day, Linda will tell me, for instance, was a bad weekend, I'm like, this week will be good. There is a little bit of a balance in the universe, right? So that ends our kind of formal talk today. And we wanted to talk about what we think we might do in the next couple lectures, but I wanted to have open discussion and feedback. So in October, we were thinking about doing longevity, biohacking, which is really, I can talk to you all day, all night about that stuff. We did a podcast called Hot versus Cold. So cold water immersion versus sauna and the benefits. November, we all gain weight. Our cholesterol always does really bad. So we want to do diet, nutrition, foundations of fasting. The sun is less, so we have to talk a little about sunlight, and then sleep, because everyone's trying to fly in dry places. December, holiday modes, seasonal depression, toxic joy, interpersonal relationships. I have a limited relation with Christmas, right? And then if any of you are in the wellness space online, there's a lot of talk about the mitochondria and how important it is to longevity. We thought January we might just focus, was my good friend's idea here. We're going to call it the mighty mitochondria. That's pretty cool stuff. And then February is our shortest month, and winter's kind of still lagging, and we're just hoping for some warm weather. We thought we might talk about, again, the power of the sun and mental health. Somewhere in here, what I really, really have a passion for is I would love to have a talk on what is consciousness, because that wraps all of this around, right? And so, I don't know, we may fit it in somewhere, we may shoot for March. But we wanted to tease this out there for you guys. We've had a recap today of the material. We did something fun for this lecture. We each took another person's material and we presented ourselves in our way. So some of the stuff we were presenting was made by the other partner. So we just did it in our own presentation way. But I want feedback. I want questions, thoughts. We usually jam pack so much material we don't get to have discussions. We have 15 minutes now to have discussions, ideas, topics you guys might want us to talk about. And I apologize, we're in a small room. Next time we definitely will be next month, fourth Wednesday. We'll have both rooms. Thoughts? Yes, Sam.
Looks like a great agenda. I also wanted to say you were talking about exercise when you were talking on the first presentation. And I wanted to let you know that if you don't know, Frederick actually has a place for seniors to exercise now, specifically a park for them. Did you all know that? The Monocacy Village.
Support group went there. Yeah, that's one where it's really
awesome. My father was in rehab and the girl was friends with the girl that came up with the vision, and it
That's awesome.
came
It's been a love for her for probably 10 to 12 years now, so I was really happy.
Yeah, it's great. I've actually taken my father there several times, so.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Just hope nobody messes with the equipment and everything, but it's like having a gym outside. So as long as the weather's warm, that's where I'll be taking them.
That's
Are you talking about the outdoor park?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I've been there. Yeah, pretty cool.
Speaking of that, I think we're gonna have a guided meditation coming up. Yeah.
It's really.
On a Wednesday walk, we're gonna do a guided meditation. Where are we gonna have it?
In that park next door. What's that?
At the hospital park.
Yeah, there's a little seating area there. So, everybody typically goes on, noon, so we're thinking about right after the walk, we can just be there at the little sitting area. We can have a guided meditation outdoor, because
Yeah.
outdoors, we all need to be out there.
So Monday through Friday, we were just doing Monday, Wednesday, but every day now.
Every day now.
12 o'clock, we go on a walk outside. Once you're on the WhatsApp thread, we will bully you. Some people here told me they were gonna be on, but they haven't been on like 2 months. I don't know, I'm gonna delete you from the WhatsApp thread. But please join us.
Yeah.
Ideas, yeah.
12 minutes.
12 minutes.
I've heard that obviously the sun is so important for us, but the morning sunlight.
Yes.
Why?
So, sorry, I'm gonna take it in my hand here. So if you are able to get morning sunshine in your eyes within 20 to 30 minutes of waking up. Okay, now, some people can't because you come to work early, and then we can talk about sunlight boxes and stuff like that. That sunlight early in the morning has very low UV rating, so you don't get the damage that you get at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, which is peak. But it resets your melanocyte cells in your eyes and actually tells your body, your circadian cycle, when you should sleep and how you should sleep later. So it improves sleep, believe it or not. when you wake up in the dark, come and work in a dark hospital, your brain has no clue when to reset. And then at nighttime, you're on your phone, turn on, go to sleep. And your brain's like, what just happened? Why are we asleep? So yeah, first 20, 30 minutes, whatever early morning sunshine is really, really healthy.
Additionally, January's talk, the mitochondria talk. So that first morning light, as it resets the brain, it sends all of those endocrine functions into process. So you get that huge surge. You actually get a little boost of cortisol. It tells your body it's time to wake up. All of your endocrine functions going, and your mitochondria actually.
Yeah, remember, cortisol in the morning is good. Like people think you want your cortisol to be high in the morning and low at nighttime. From the middle, high, stay high.
I feel like we do a whole talk on cortisol because it's like a necessary evil. It really does some really amazing things in the body. Just chronically high is a problem.
Great question.
I think also February, since it's the month of love, you can't love someone else until you love yourself first. So self-reflection, self-affirmation, self-talk.
That's great.
Build a good foundation.
Can I ask you a question? How many people here regularly go to an exercise facility or a gym or a wellness center or something like that?
That's a great community.
How many people take daily walks? Awesome.
How many people exercise at home?
Yeah. How many people would be interested if the organization put time and effort into developing a wellness center here, on campus or
With a variety of hours.
Yep, absolutely. We want to make it easy, right? We want it accessible. That's why like the wellness blocks, it's 12 minutes. One lap around the building, and we try to encourage each other. But yes, it would be a win.
Dr. Kulkarni, to your point, the cardiac rehab is open to staff. I was there yesterday, and I don't know if everybody's aware of that. It's got certain hours. Tuesday, Thursday, it's available a little earlier, I think after like 3:30. And it's not this myself.
Our mission for a wellness center is very similar to what other hospitals have. Millwood has one very, very nice. We're talking about not just a place to exercise, but yoga classes, meditation classes, mindfulness classes.
I'll get you all cold water my next year, I guarantee you. I got Leo to do it, and he hates cold water. Other thoughts, ideas? I love this.
These are great, but there's a limited number of people who have access to it because just our schedules don't allow for it. Is there some way to just make it available?
It's on YouTube.
It is on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll put it out again. Yep. If you look up Frederick Wellbeing, the channel comes up and all of these lectures are on.
Okay.
And the podcast should be on there too. Right now?
Is that every time that you do the advertisement?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
They search Two Docs and a Nurse or Expansion Media, it'll come up.
Yeah. So their podcast is called Two Docs and a Nurse. Sorry, 2 Docs. Yeah. But yes, we'll expand.
So they're also housed on the employee well-being page as well. There's a separate tile specifically for this series.
When we go big time, we'll take all of you.
Our latest podcast was on the microbiome, and that was fun. So
Yeah.
Microbiome and how important it is for us to manage antibiotics and that's great.
Yeah, we want this to be readily accessible to people, right?
Then is there some way to have this available? I don't know how it would be done, but we have people that English is not their first language who work here. And it would be nice for them to have access to this kind of information also.
Yeah, we can probably do it all with YouTube. Yeah, get a translation over, absolutely. Yep. These are good ideas. Keep them coming. Any other good ideas? You guys like these topics?
Great.
Yeah. And then consciousness, I think that's going to be kind of a cool one to go down. There's a lot of neuroscience research into that. So I find it fascinating. When we get into the biohacking stuff, we will get into cold plunge and how it means. So who's going to try it? How you're going to feel. It's very easy to do. And it's amazing. Are you doing it yet, Justin? Trying. Okay, good.
I'll tell you why sun is better.
I'm not doing that.
No, it doesn't.
And we'll talk about that and why I love the sauna.
I tried like a legitimate PhD.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a very small subset that it's not good for, so of course they generalize in the whole population. Of course, they generalize it if you have a heart condition, it's not good for you, I have a heart condition. So there's a small subset that it's not good for, but generally speaking, it is tremendously beneficial to everyone. Yeah. And once you do, you get a difference. All right?
So you do it because you have a heart condition? Do
We
you,
both have heart conditions, so we do it every day.
every day?
Every day. 34 degrees is the lowest I've done.
Oh, my God. No, I'm freezing all the time anyway.
I'm telling you, it's very beneficial. For anyone who's done it, it's amazing. It's a panacea. Really fixes a lot of things.
No.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you, everyone online.
Oh.